Hello and welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. Hi everybody, I'm Matt. I am hosting this. You cannot stop me. You cannot even hope to contain me. Wait, you probably can. I'm not that strong. I'm easily tired. Yeah, never mind. I shouldn't have said that. Also with me are three fantastic co-hosts, as we've already said in the pre-show. And now I have to come up with different things to do. So right now, I'm kind of comparing you guys to like the various trinities from Marvel and DC Comics. Like I'm thinking Liz P, you would be Captain America.
Oh God.
Liz H, you would be Batman. And
okay,
Joe, you would be Spider-Man, even though he's not actually part of a trilogy. He's sort of his own thing that's like, but is very big.
See, I
just know you like Spider-Man.
I thought you would have went with Kirby, Ditko, and
Lee?
Excelsior. Yeah, Lee.
No, because that's like two people who are really talented and gifted artists and one crazy person who somehow got in the door and they never knew what to do with him.
That's me. I'm
me.
that person.
Well, at least you get to make a lot of cameos in the future, so congratulations. Anyway, we're going to talk about various games, including a lot of Blizzard stuff, because, I mean, that's what we do. You've listened to this before. That's what it is, man.
It's Blizzard Watch. It's right there in the name. I mean, I guess we could talk about the weather, but
no,
it's really
I have had
nuts.
enough. I have had enough of Blizzard weather for this season. I am done.
It's like 6 degrees Celsius here today, which is so weird because it was negative 36 at one point, like within this month. But that's not important. Liz is literally writing as we're talking the weather thing.
I am writing notes for future podcast descriptions.
I just get distracted when I see it happening. I'm like, things are happening. Let's talk about stuff. I'm going to go straight into Warcraft because this one I was reading the notes and I was like, ooh, there's going to be major plus changes to Mythic Plus, which is coming in patch 11.1. And they're aiming to make progression smoother and more rewarding. And it says here that Joe should talk about this. So I'm looking at Joe now, like, talk about it, Joe.
I actually am behind on this one. So, but I will say that anything they're doing to try to make Mythics a little more accessible, or at least smoother and more rewarding is interesting. I was having to talk with, I'm going to go into an anecdote here. So, I was having to talk with one of my coworkers, one of my employees, who was asking me, have you done a 12 or higher key yet, Joe? And I'm like, no, I haven't. And his exact response was, it's so much better because you do not have to worry about any of the FXs. Everything just hits harder and takes longer to kill. Like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's really interesting, because there are some that on 10s are absolute nightmares that are just absolutely atrocious to deal with. And progressing into them is really, really rough. So like if you try to pug, let's say, a Stone Vault 10, it is really difficult, one, to find a group, two, to not have what's been happening recently, which is people just, like if there's a bad pull, even if the timer can be saved, we'll just leave the group. And it's been happening a lot lately. So I noticed it myself with a couple times I was trying to pug over the weekend, where we had a bad pull because the tank or one of the DPS over pulled. We would still be able to make the timer if we, just pushed ahead, and then, one person drops. And the minute somebody drops, you're cooked. Like there's nothing you can do about it. So with these changes, I'm hoping that they're looking to, one, make the progression into like 2K and 2500, and then pushing your way into higher keys a little bit smoother, because there is sort of like a wall. There's a plateau you hit where it's just, depending on what class you are and what you do, it's very, very difficult. Yeah. So I don't know. I like they're also talking about like in here like lower keys, and this is one I've also noticed since I've been doing keys on my paladin. My paladin is like 603 eye level, nothing special, but like that's more than enough to do like some lower level keys, right? And that's one of my paths to gearing that character up and trying to like get it going. The pool of candidates and people willing to do like lower keys, like 2 to 6, it's barren. It is absolutely like they call it a shallow pool. I wouldn't even call that. You know the splash pads that you used to go to a kid that were just basically like, here's concrete with some water on it. That's what it feels like.
No, I know what it is. It's that thing that you would slide on, the slip and slide.
The slip and slide.
Just enough water on it so that if you're going fast enough, you just glide down. But once you stop, it's like the plastic sticks to you. It's like, that's like,
or like the old slides at the old water parks that were made out of metal. Yeah, kind of like that.
That squeaking sound. Yes,
that squeaking sound that was your flesh. Anyway,
yeah. I unfortunately for me, I actually did lose some like buttock skin to one of those.
Well, things that you won't lose are your cares as you see these new changes that are coming in, and I want to kind of go through them just real quick. Just a few of them.
Hold on, Liz.
Go ahead, Liz.
Liz, go ahead.
I do think Blizzard is making an interesting point here on what they're trying to address. You were just talking about the shallow pool of players here, and Blizzard talks about that as well. And what their point is that gearing in the War Within, particularly with the introduction of delves, it's kind of easier to get to that base level, to get like champion level gear and be sort of ready to go. But low level mythic keys are kind of worse than high level delve gear. So
and
you have this
more
thing
people,
where people
yeah.
and require more people and more effort and more coordination. So people are maybe gearing up in delves, which they can do by themselves. Maybe they just enjoy delves, and then they come to Mythic Plus. And it's like, why would I do a Mythic 2? This is giving gear downgrades. It's really hard to get an upgrade. I have to go to 7 or higher.
Yep.
But 7 or higher, those are actually difficult. I mean, you aren't joking around once you get into those higher level keys. But because of that, you have that shallow pool at the low level. Fewer people want to do those keys. But it also makes the higher level worse
because there's less players progressing into it.
Well, but not just that, but because, players looking for upgrades, they may not have done the low keys because there are no rewards there, but they jump into 7 plus because that's where they're going to get upgrades, except they don't have the dungeon experience. They don't have the Mythic Plus experience to successfully do a 7 or higher. So go.
You're also talking about folks who, you have two very distinct groups where you have the folks that were champion, like ready to dive into Mythic Plus at the start of season 1. And so they use those first 2 weeks to gear up through delves, through every activity they possibly could. And then they started blasting Mythic Plus. And then you have the folks who are soloing their way through delves, and like you said, they don't necessarily have the dungeon experience from the get-go. So when they're pugging 2 months later in a Mythic, 7 and up, everybody else is like, excuse me, noob tank, do you not know the path? And they're like, no, this is the first time I've been in here and done this.
Or you,
and then the group falls apart immediately.
Yeah, or knowing when to bloodlust. Like that's another thing too. Like knowing what bosses to use it on and where to apply it to. You learn that in lower level keys and it doesn't necessarily shift. But if you don't have that experience, like again, my employee told me that they were doing a 12 siege last night and the shaman healer had never done siege before. Apparently, and just didn't tell anybody and they didn't care to look. They just took him because he was available. And in siege, you lust at the sea giant. That's where you lust because that's where you get the most effect out of it. But if you've never done that dungeon before, you don't know to hit it. And so he didn't hit it and they didn't notice. And then he used it on the first tentacle on the last boss. And it's like, you don't get the maximum effect out of it. But again, he didn't do it before, so he had no idea. But going back to some of the changes, they're moving. Sorry, go ahead, Liz. I heard you.
Just at the same time, you were finding groups at that top end because you have so many inexperienced players coming in, players that can't get through the dungeon. You're finding groups being pickier and more demanding on what they want. And I think that results in things like, oh, we had one wipe, I'm leaving and giving up. But it also means that when someone without experience comes in, they don't say they don't have experience because they know they're going to get kicked or they're not going to get a group. So
yeah.
it just creates a toxic environment all around that it's problem on top of problem.
So to combat that, what they're doing here is they're trying to move some things around. So your baseline mythic zeros are now going to award champion track gear from each boss with a weekly instance lockout. The damage from those are going to increase. The health is going to increase to reflect that change. Mythic 2 through 10, each new level will now increase the health and damage of enemies by 7%, down from 10%, which is actually really, really cool. Per level scaling will still remain at 10% from Mythic 11 onwards. Xal'ata's Bargain, which is the rotating affix between like whether it's the Zally Pally or the balls or the debuff, will move up from Mythic 2 to Mythic 4. Leaving no affixes other than the existence of a timer at the 2 entry levels to the mythic system, which I think is actually a really huge and positive change. Like that is good. Tyrannical and Fortified will move up from 4 to replace Challenger's Peril at 7. Challenger's Peril is the time that every death gives you 15 seconds off your timer. And with the Challenger's Peril moving up to 10. And then Mythic 12, instead of the additional 10% increased enemy health, Xal'ata's Guile will now include the increased timer penalty for deaths that was formerly part of Challenger's Peril as a replacement for the rotating bargain affixes. So, like, this seems like a lot, but it's kind of like just moving the sliding scale up a little bit and making room at the bottom for people to actually jump on the roller coaster. So it's overall a positive thing.
And some gear updates all around to make that kind of,
course,
gearing up curve make more sense,
Yeah.
because that feels like that's kind of the start of the problem here, because people are getting gear that is better than low-level mythics outside of low-level mythics, so they're jumping too high too fast.
You're not wrong.
That's my favorite way to be.
Okay. I think at this point we've talked about mythics enough that we can move on to the profession changes, because yay, more profession changes. But I actually do think this is a decent one. Profession knowledge point respects. They're coming in 11.1. And as is pointed out in this post, with some significant limitations. So
yeah, there's always a catch. There's always a catch. So the thing is, you can reset your talent points. You can only reset them once. This is a one-time do-over. It is, you can't do this forever. This is not something that's going to let you, oh, this week I want to be good at this because this is selling well on the auction house. Oh, next week I want to be good at this because this is selling better, so I need to put all my points over there. This will not let you do this. This will let you respec each of your professions one time. So, like, if you started and you went into something and you realized, oh man, I spent all these points and this is just a really bad idea. I really wanted to specialize in something else. Then you can reset and move your points to where you want to, but it won't let you flip around and flip back and forth.
Yeah, this is not like when Dual Spec came out or whatever. It's basically just we noticed that you're terrible at what you're doing. You can change if you would like, but then you're stuck. So get it right this time. Please.
It reminds me a lot of the Diablo 2 respecking when they added it to the game.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, in that it is, somewhat punitive and definitely feels like it's looking at you like, are you for real? Are you?
But
did you really do that? Did you honestly take leatherworking and then just go whole in on making leather with it? Not dragon scale, no chain, just okay. I can't even with, but fine. You get a respec. Go ahead and try something else.
At that point, embrace the D2 model and okay, you get one. If you goof this up again, you've got to farm all these ridiculous people. Go get a tooth from a child of a Nixia that spawned during this phase.
Yeah, that would actually be neat. Or if it was you need to do 17 steps to get to the the secret cow level and find
Exactly.
he drops a bezoar and you're like, what is a bezoar? It's kind of like a thing in your abdomen you use to use stones to crunch your food. It's kind of like that. So you get one of those. So yeah, that kind of thing. Because Diablo 2, in a way, any Diablo game is just got an absolute gift for making you just hate the thing you're doing as you're doing it in terms of this kind of thing. Like for respecs or, what have you. I would actually kind of like to see it just because Diablo 2, geez. It's like the Altar of Rights all over again, except before it. Oh,
Yeah.
Also, we should mention that you lose all of the skills and recipes that you unlocked when you reset.
Which makes sense.
mean-
I would expect that.
Yeah, because some of the recipes are tied to having certain levels of skill in something. So I would expect that. That sounds normal. You're leaving those skill points behind. You're moving them into somewhere else. So you're going to lose the skills that were unlocked by having those points. But you'll get, whatever other skills from speccing into something new.
Yeah, just be aware that, if you've got a bunch of stuff, like recipes that you got via that thing, they're not going to still be there. So don't
you can't game the system, or at least they're trying to make it so you can't game the system.
There's always going to be something some player will figure out, but they're at least grabbing the edge cases that they should be able to grab. Like, it's when in the future people are not going to be going, why didn't they realize that you could keep these recipes? Because you can't. That at least is not going to be an issue. Lunar Festival begins on the January 28th, which is the day I'm currently speaking in. Yeah, it's live now. So if you're listening to us live, there you go. If you're listening to recording, it's been a few days, but it's going till February 11th, which means you'll have a couple of weeks to get it done. And I don't think they've added anything new. Like it's the same as it's been for at least the past 4 years.
It exists.
Yeah, but I mean, one thing that's in the note here is that it's a great way to start leveling your low B alts, which is true. You run around, you get coins, you get a big chunk of XP, boom, you're done. Go ahead, Liz.
It's not an efficient way to level alts, but it's a very brainless way to level alts. Just jump from flight path to flight path.
Well, it's the kind of thing where for low level characters, a lot of the time, you hit plateaus where you're getting murdered.
Yeah.
And even to this day, and it used to be much worse. Like I still remember spending like 3 horrible sweaty hours in Elwyn Forest trying to kill Murlocs before I heard that murder. Oh, you ran over there. I remember at one point I was a level 8 character who ended up level 12 at the end of the pull because they just kept aggroing more Murlocs. So this is one of those things where you can just go click a thing, get a chunk of XP, get on another flight mount, go click a thing, get some XP.
And there are, I will point out, there is a new mount. So if you've been hoarding those Lunar Festival coins for the past, 10 or 20 years, you might be able to get a reward out of this.
Yes, finally, something to do with Lunar Festival card, the tokens, right? What are they? I don't even remember anymore. I remember you used to get the little envelope-y thing.
Coins.
And there's elders in the Isle of Dorn now.
That's cool. I don't know why I was suddenly sent off into like a reverie. I was sitting here thinking about it. Like, you ever seen the video of the guy he's floating above us in the clouds and he just starts screaming really loudly? Like, well, never mind. I'm remembering a lot of videos today. I'm sorry. But yeah, Lunar Festival up till the 11th. You go talk to some elders. It's good. It's a good way to get XP without having to put a lot of thought into it. It is not, as Liz pointed out, it's not efficient. You want efficient. There's efficient ways, but this is not one of those.
The efficient way would probably be turbulent time ways, which is continuing for, I think we got another month of it, and I believe it's classic time walking this week. So, you go in, you do your dungeons, you get an XP buff with every dungeon you do. That's just, it gets kind of crazy. It's a little itty bitty tiny bit crazy.
Just a smidge of
just a smidge of crazy.
But,
especially since we just finished classic in the anniversary window.
Oh God, it's classic again.
Yeah. We're going back. We're going back.
Fine.
Going back in time. WoW Classic Season of Discovery Phase 7 is now live. We, basically you're going to mention the really thing to mention here is Naxxramas is on next week, I think. The 6th of February, I think, is next week.
Yes.
There's also that new Empower mechanic where you can go click on, there's like each there's like each
Yeah.
of the wings has a power thing, and you can like have all of them up, or you can have just one of them up. We still don't know everything about it until we get to see it in action, because it was tested a little bit on the PTR.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that tablet thing they did with the dungeons and Cataclysm.
Yeah, it's not that dissimilar to it. But there's also the new Karazhan's Crypt dungeon, which who knows? The one about this one that kind of gets me is I know this one's going to be a nightmare for me because it has like this,
it's going to be a nightmare for all of us.
Well, it's the darkness mechanic. We have to go run off to a light source somewhere. It's kind of like that end of the dungeon with the Death Knights and the.
You're also, don't forget to mention that this does require an attunement.
Yeah, it requires an attunement, which is like, yikes! I'm not looking forward to another attunement. But supposedly it's a short attunement.
Yes. Yeah.
But the darkness one makes me think of the dungeon with the demon hunters.
Vault of the Wardens.
Yeah, yes. That's what immediately when I read this, I was like, Vault of the Wardens, no.
I think we all have kind of terrible memories of Vault of the Wardens and wandering around in the dark and trying to find, the right thing of what's it, so you could end the darkness. I mean, this is very interesting. This goes along with everything Season of Discovery has been doing, which is taking familiar things and adding new twists to them. Like, I think a lot of us have been to Karazhan crypts, kind of snuck in down there, or at least we know about them. We've seen screenshots of them. And now in Season of Discovery, it's there. It's a dungeon. So that is super neat. And also, it sounds like it might be full of secrets.
Yeah,
which is
the thing here
that's
is actually
appropriate.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
What Blizzard has said about it is, in order to fully explore Karazhan crypts, players will need to keep their eyes peeled for details within the environment that can lead not only to advantages that can be exploited to more safely traverse the dungeon, but also expose new dangers that may need to be overcome in order to claim powerful rewards. Multiple visits may be required to discover all of the secrets of Karazhan crypts. So this sounds like a lot of fun.
Absolutely. But now we can move on to the redheaded, I don't like this reference because I kind of have red hair naturally. But the less loved of the classics, namely Cataclysm Classic, proving it is truly Cataclysm, because Cataclysm itself became possibly the least popular WoW expansion. I don't know, Warlords is up there. Let them fight. Let them fight. But we just figured out that it's not going to be in January like we thought, because the PvP season is going to be ending on February 10th, which means possibly that Phase 4 will be in February. I mean, if it's going to be January, you've got a couple days now, guys.
And it's at this point, it's not going to be January. It's too late in January. They'd have to announce it. So based on the roadmap, we had thought that Cataclysm Classic Phase 4 would start in January. And now that that time window has kind of passed, but we have just found out that the PvP season is ending February 10th. So maybe that suggests Phase 4 starting on February 18th, the week after. But Blizzard still has not announced that. And, I
mean, I think that's in a way, it's almost the verisimilitude here is fascinating, because it's very much a Cataclysm thing to do, to just not tell us when it's coming out. And everyone's sitting around going, when are we getting this? Nothing. Crickets. Huh? Like, wow, this really is Cataclysm. But yeah, that's happening. Who knows when they'll finally get to see it. But now we're going to move on to some Diablo news. Diablo 3 does not know when its seasons end. Like we've been having this problem. Season 33 had problems, and now Season 34 is coming in, having problems. We talked about it last week, that it was interesting that Diablo was going to have like both its Diablo 4 and Diablo 3 seasons coming in the same week. Apparently, Blizzard listened to that podcast and we're like, what?
We talked about that quite a bit, and actually between the time we recorded and between the time the podcast was released publicly, Blizzard decided to push back the release date of Diablo 3 Season 34. So we kind of got caught in like a no man's land there, right in the middle. But yeah, they pushed Season 34 out a week. It is now starting on January 31st.
Which is Friday, right?
That is this Friday, yes. As we're recording this, probably the day you listeners are hearing this for the first time. So Diablo 3 Season 34 is probably live And it's a little confusing because the big reason they explained to push this back was because it was launching at the same time as Diablo 4 Season 7, which is a date we knew in advance, and probably the Diablo team knew even further in advance than we did.
I think what happened was the Diablo team certainly had the capacity to know it before we did, but obviously somebody forgot.
I don't know. I'm confused. My head is spinning around in circles. It's first we ended Diablo 3 Season 33 early, then we started Diablo 3 Season 33 back up again because it wasn't supposed to end, and then it did actually end, and then Season 34 was supposed to start, but then it wasn't supposed to start, and now it's supposed to start. What am I even supposed to think, Diablo 3? Help me out here. I don't know what's going on.
Diablo 3, you're drunk. Come on.
Go home, Diablo 3, you're drunk. And they actually...
Diablo 3, this is an Arby's. Go ahead, Liz.
Wendy's, sir. I will say they pitched it as a good thing because it gave them a bigger window of opportunity to resolve any gotchas following the seasonal character snafu restoration for Season 33. Mm-hmm. And, it just... this was really funny because when I was talking to Liz about this week's podcast, I said I have feelings. I want to come on, and I think the reason why I have so many thoughts around it is because from the get-go, and this is something that I've been writing out for at least a year now, maybe longer. And Matt, I know you did them before I did, where we do predictions.
Oh yeah,
of the season start and end date. And
I used to get like the board thing in my head and going, if this, seriously, yeah.
Yes, you're doing the Pepe Silva meme in real life, and then you're putting it in words in our CMS. So I had gone through that process and said, okay, so they're obviously not going to want to bump 2 seasons together again. They dodged this when they released the expansion. So we're probably going to see another 13-week Season 33. And lo and behold, first it ended early and then they brought it back and it ended on time. And now they've delayed Season 34. And I wish I could hit the way back machine and check what my original prediction was, because I would not be surprised if it was close to this date at this point. I feel like we're doing the 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Let's do the time warp again. Yeah, I know, absolutely.
And I feel Adam Fletcher, if you happen to listen to this show, can I send you like a Starbucks gift card or something, man, as just an empathy? Because
some muffins are always good, dude. You can get some muffins.
Muffin cookies. You need pre-workout, because I think you're doing all the lifting over there for keeping this going. You've had to go to the forums so many times and say, hey, okay, thanks for reporting this. We're looking into it. Hey, okay, so people gave us feedback. We're pushing this back. Like, you have a hard job, and I feel for you.
Yeah, it is interesting to see this. We were all pretty incredulous about them doing 2 seasons like within the same week.
Yeah, it's a busy week.
So we were. I don't think any of us thought they were going to do this. I don't think any of us thought they were going to push it back. But we did comment on, well, that's odd, and now here we are.
I think this is the first time in a while that they've literally gone online within a couple days of season start and gone, JK, we're pushing it back.
Yeah, not since the PTR days when they had Diablo 3 would have its PTR and they would do it really fast, and then they would suddenly be like, oh no, we have to push this back because we still don't know how that power works. So we haven't seen that in a while. Go ahead, Liz.
It wasn't just that they were, we're going to push this back. It was that they announced that like a day before it was supposed to start.
Yeah, and in the same month that they already by now accidentally started the end of a season and had to unend it. So yeah, it's been interesting.
It's been a roller coaster of the last few weeks for Diablo 3.
But now we're going to do this thing about Diablo 4 Season 7 because I need to know Who wrote this? It was Liz P or Liz H?
It was me.
I knew it. Diablo 4 Season 7 leveling experience has gone to plaid. It is extremely festive. I salute your Spaceballs reference.
Thank you.
It warms the
Thank
cockles
you.
of my horrible dead heart. Basically, the witchcraft's powers are kind of like you get the power to have a gigantic rotating chainsaw of angry fish or
Well, it's-
frogs or whatever they are.
Admittedly, it's pretty difficult to get the chainsaw of piranha to follow you around. That is one of the things that they have made difficult, but it's one of a very few things that is difficult right now.
Yeah, I mean, also, it just Diablo 4 had already gotten pretty fast on leveling.
Yeah.
Like the past couple of seasons, it's been routinely amping up the speed of leveling. So I remember back when Diablo 4 came out, we did multiple posts on how slow leveling was.
As it was.
And it was.
It was supposed to be 100. What was it, Liz? 160 hours?
Something like that, yeah.
It was way up there. Maybe 120, maybe not quite 160, but it was way up there.
And now you can honestly level a character very quickly. I feel like you could get a character to like max level, like not Paragon, but max level in like a day.
The speed levelers out there are doing it in like 3 hours.
Yeah, but I'm no speed level.
Me neither. But in the first week the season was out, I did get to level 60 Paragon 100, which that is really high for me. I do not zoom through the levels, but we're just a week in, and I'm at Paragon 100. That is so much Paragon.
I don't know why I was about to say we heard you like Paragon, so we put more Paragon. It's like
Again.
brain couldn't make it work.
Exhibits the end boss? Like 3 people got that joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got it.
But also, I do like to point out which Hex of Whispers is back, by the way. That's cool.
I mean,
go ahead, Liz.
Some of the witchcraft towers have been a tiny itty bitty bit buggy. And Hex of Whispers, Liz, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the one that could crash the servers by constantly like self-replicating? Yep. Yeah. Do we actually know how that worked?
It's self-replicating, picking up VRAM. That's how it worked. I can guarantee it. I can absolutely guarantee it.
I don't think they released the exact flow that would cause the server
They did not.
crash, but it was bad enough that they globally disabled this power for not 1, not 2, but 3 hotfixes in the first week that this was disabled. And now they've taken out, it's not a power, but there's a different feature that should be back up and running. This is the cleansing pyres and headhunt areas. They should be back up and running in another day or two. They're making the patch bigger.
By the time you listen to this, they should be available.
But we can't be sure.
Probably
the
they'll be available. It's a good possibility, but yes, it is the future, and the future is mysterious.
But so that's our Diablo news. I've got to say, I hope that people don't think I am ragging on Diablo 3 for its interesting stuff, because man, I remember playing Diablo 3 back when like seasons first started getting themes, and they would have to like literally hot fix the theme like 4 times before it worked. This is not. These are complicated things that they are doing with these games.
I mean, there was a period where it was notable if you got into the season, and this was, up to like season 20 or 22.
If it started the way they told you. Yeah. Absolutely.
Which, on that note, actually, season 7 was a really clean rollout for Diablo 4. Diablo 4 has had sluggish, buggy launches in the past that have not gone as anticipated. The Vessel of Hatred launch went live a large number of hours after it was supposed to launch. And Diablo 4 Season 7, it was a very smooth rollout. The patch went live, the season went live, and it all worked. It happened when it was supposed to.
Imagine Todd Howard saying that. I'm going to replay the memes. Yeah.
It was a bit of a surprise, but a little over a year later, we've had a season rollout that was totally smooth. Great season.
Yeah, and only having to disable one power for a brief period.
And then only
Honestly, I'm not arguing with it.
only cleansing pyres, and they might even be up soon. But moving over to Overwatch for a bit here. Apparently, we've got Joe. Have you been playing Overwatch at all? Or are you still playing Marvel Rivals all the time?
No, I have been playing Overwatch. It's just called Marvel Rivals.
Okay, then you can't actually answer these things I've got here. So
I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I cannot. But if you've seen the latest Carbot animation, yes.
So, Joe, did you order that Jeff the Shark T-shirt? That's my question.
Not yet. However, I get paid in 4 hours.
See, I think the Jeff the Shark would be better as a hoodie.
You can get it as a hoodie. For people out there who have no idea what I'm talking about, Carbot released a new animation that is Marvel Rivals and features an adorable Jeff the Land Shark looking a tiny bit like a Zergling, because that's the Carbot style. And you can buy it on a t-shirt or a hoodie that says MVP on it.
Yeah.
I want a hoodie that's literally I want a hoodie that's literally just so I can look like Jeff the Shark. Like I seriously
those existed for a while. You can get a shark hoodie, no problem.
Mid-season Overwatch patch, which is landing with a lot of content coming soon, apparently. There's the Moth meta mode it's going to hit on February 4th. My apologies, I couldn't say that for some reason. Which is going to be bringing back the Overwatch era with Mercy as a res bot, and the article also mentions Symmetra. So yay, Symmetra's got shields, DPS Doomfist, nostalgic fun, blah blah. What's interesting to me about this is that they keep doing these kind of like weird callbacks to the original Overwatch. And this is another one. Didn't they just do one?
Yeah, they did the classic 6v6 not too long ago. I want to say less than a month.
About a month ago, I believe.
They did last month
6v6.
Last month they did that, and now they're doing this, which is another kind of callback.
They are continuing. They're planning to continue to do 6v6 testing. So they closed down the 6v6 and they closed down the classic, but they're going to keep testing different variations of 6v6 in order with a plan to eventually bring it back as some kind of game mode. But it's still kind of testing, come and go. And I think right now it's gone. So, or no, it's about to come back.
It's about to come back.
With this patch.
Do you know why? If I had to hazard a guess,
you know why?
This is going to be a guess, but I think it's a pretty good educated guess. Is that their engagement probably tripled or doubled somewhere in that range when 6v6 was back, and then immediately tailed off as soon as 6v6 was gone. And they're probably trying to see if they do another 6v6 if it'll chart back up.
Well, plus we should actually talk about what this next trial is going to be. Because it's not standard 6v6, it's max 3 min 1 mode. So you could go 2-2-2 as says here, or you could go 3-2-1.
Yeah.
You know?
So
you could have like 1 DPS and 3 tanks if you wanted to.
This is a throwback actually to when Overwatch was first in beta, because that was one of the original modes that Overwatch 1 had. And then when it released, that's why they before they made any changes, you could have 1 million tanks. Then they made some changes. But this goes back to one of the modes they tested in beta of Overwatch 1, which I think is very fascinating.
I will speak in Overwatch's defense here, which is that it was planned and announced that they would test different 6v6 modes, and that it would, they would test one and they would test another with the intention of bringing back some kind of 6v6 mode. So I am not surprised that the last test ended and now there's a new test starting with this patch. And Classic kind of feels like a no-brainer to have just kept Classic around, but Classic was a separate thing from the 6v6 testing. That was its own thing, which started and had an announced end date when it started, which, like I said, seems crazy. Why not just keep it around? People are going to love it. But the fact that they're cycling through 6v6 testing, I think that is expected. That was announced, and they're trying to find the right formula here to bring back and keep around.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it right now. I want them to do like max 4, minimum none, where you could just like have 4 tanks, 2 support, or like 6 DPS, like 4 DPS, 1 tank, 1 support.
It sounds like an Oops All Druids Raiders comp.
Yeah. Or that one raid I did, it was like there were like 40 warriors, and wow, there's just 40 warriors trying to get through the swirly water boss in Mists of Pandaria's in Siege of Orgrimmar.
Yeah.
We had like not 40, 25 warriors.
I do
painful.
have one thing to say.
Go.
Not about the nostalgia mode, so to speak, but about the seasonal events, because they've got the Lunar New Year and Valentine's coming up. Cupid Hanzo, Tangled called, and they want their smolder back.
Zachary Levi. All right. Site news. We have site news and then questions.
This is me. I would usually read out new Patreon supporters right here, but we didn't have any new Patreon supporters this
guys,
week. So
look at me right now. Look at me and my sad puppy dog eyes. Look at them.
Unfortunately, Matt, this is an audio podcast only.
Yeah.
Imagine my sad puppy dog eyes.
There you go.
Look at them.
I am just going to say, your support is what keeps this site going. And I did want to give you a little site status update, which is that we are working on a new site design that will hopefully be easier for reading, easier for finding things. We are actually going to have a search box on the site, which I am greatly looking forward to. We had one of those at one point, and then it went away because I don't know. Technology is baffling. But I hope it will be great. That's my hope. And we'll also have a updated login system for you Patreon supporters that I hope will be smoother, because ours is, a decade old, and it's a little quirky. We maybe have a tiny bit of technical debt there. So hoping to get that in the next couple months. And your support lets us do big projects like this, because it takes a lot of time and effort to make a new website, to add all of this stuff, and to actually export all of our stuff into the new site design. So working on that, your support lets us do it. I also want to remind all of y'all that we now have a Tavern Watch podcast feed on its own thing. So if you've been wondering, where are the Tavern Watch podcasts? They used to be on the main feed. Now they're on their own feed. So I want to remind you, if you're interested in listening to us play tabletop games, go and find Tavern Watch on your podcast player of choice and subscribe to it. We have played a game called Sentai and Sensibility. All 3 episodes of that are out now. And we playtested Starfinder 2E, a really fun game run by Matt here. And both of those episodes are now out. Next week, we're going to have a D&D murder mystery, which I think was really, really interesting. I ran that one, and it certainly surprised me with all of you weirdos throwing wrenches in the works.
I'm sorry about
here,
that.
you guys.
I did not intend that to happen.
I'm just trying to run a murder mystery, but
I got to be sultry. It was great.
It was a lot of fun, and weirdly, that was the first one of our batch of games that we recorded. It's the last one we're releasing.
We're strange.
If that sounds interesting, exciting to you, please go to Tavern Watch and subscribe. That really helps us out. Now, we're going into questions. I'm going to throw it back to you, Matt.
I'm going to catch him. Caught. Good. Yeah, I did it. I'm going to read this one first because it's from Cory. Cory has some questions.
Could you perhaps tell people how to send us
I could
questions?
do that. Yeah, I could.
Yeah.
Wow. I haven't been sleeping much. I'm sorry. First off, if you have email and you'd like to use email, you can email us at podcast@blizzardwatch.com with subject line podcast or Blizzard Watch so we know it's for the show. Or if you'd rather use Patreon, if you are a Patreon supporter, you can definitely message us there, and either Liz or Dan, and usually probably Dan, will basically send us the questions and also possibly some cat memes. I think with Dan, it's fairly likely there will be a bunch of cat memes. Or you can go to our Discord, because we have 2 channels on Discord for the asking of questions. One of them is simply Q and podcast questions for anybody who can get to our Discord, however you do it. If you surfed to it, if you got on a train and then gone to our Discord server somehow, I mean, congratulations on twisting reality, but also you can ask questions there. Or if you are a Patreon supporter, you can go to the Patron Q and Podcast Questions channel, which means that you guys get, we look there first because it's a way for you to give us money and then for us to give you something in return. We do like to give people value. So yeah, those are the ways I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, I guess theoretically you could like put a note on a passenger pigeon and just sort of hope that it gets to me. Although I don't know where you got a passenger pigeon. They're all dead. You know that, right? Don't do necromancy to ask us
Or
questions.
Matt's address. Please don't look up Matt's address just to send him an undead pigeon.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. Although, I mean, I wouldn't mind having my own undead pigeon, but only if it was like, actually, quite frankly, pigeons are really weird and aggressive. Never mind. Speed Lancer? No, we're going with Cory first because Cory asked us a question here.
Yeah, Cory asked us a pile of questions.
Yes, but the one I want to read first is, what's the weirdest food or drink you've eaten or drunk? This question brought to you by the ham and pineapple pizza beer I drank on the weekend. Who wants to answer this one first? Joe? Okay.
I mean, everybody's going to know the answer to this. And I think it's going to be very much my personality. So it's come no surprise. If I had all of the money and closet space were no issue, I would have all of the bowling shirts that have ever existed. And I would basically look like a kid still straight out of a 90s ska video because I miss that. I miss having comfortable, wide jeans.
You're answering the bottom question?
Yeah.
We're on the top one.
Oh, sorry.
I was wondering about bowling shirts.
I disassociated. I'm sorry. Oh, man.
I do hope you are not eating any bowling shirts.
This is such a Dragon Age
I genuinely
thing.
thought I skipped time.
It's the healing poultices
That's
all
me.
over.
That's me. I am so sorry. This is what happens when I haven't had caffeine. Wow. I'm leaving that in. I'm not editing that out at all. Weirdest food or drink I've ever eaten or drank? I don't think I can answer on the podcast.
Is it dirty or?
No, I've eaten some weird things. So when I was traveling the world as like a teenager and a young adult, I had a rule. If something was offered to me, I wouldn't say no unless it was like drugs or something that would probably get me killed. So I ate a lot of weird concoctions or like bits of animals that you probably shouldn't eat over the years. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Either Liz, do either of you have one?
I actually have two answers and one is going to delight some of our guild members because and our Discord members because they heard it mentioned recently. So I'll say not the weirdest, but the most interesting good food or drink that I recently had was baked ziti pizza. And this sparked amazing conversation in the Discord, and it's so good. It's so good, but like one slice is literally a whole meal.
Yeah, because it's covered in baked ziti.
Exactly.
Were you on Discord when we were raiding and I told everybody about Macy's Place Pizza?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so because I looked up their pizzas on Instagram and those look good.
Yeah.
It's a well-known fact that eventually one day I will finally get up to the land of Joe and his partner because I've known them both forever. And we will just go on a grand food tour and I'll go home like 2 sizes larger because it's going to be spectacular. But the weirdest food I've ever had, period, is another cultural thing. And it's quite cool. To me, I would never eat it again. But I went to an Alaskan Native cultural event as part of a company that I worked for. And they were one of the North Slope tribes that are still licensed to go after native wildlife, which includes whales and seals. And this is very deeply ingrained in their culture. And they had foods that they preserve using methods that they've been following for hundreds of years at that event, and people were allowed to try it. And I don't know if I would ever eat it again, but they were fascinating things, and they're very designed for you're living inside the Arctic tundra. You need to take in lots of fats, lots of proteins to survive those winters.
Those same fats that were also used for heating, cooking, light, because they would render the oil down. It's I oddly enough, I just went on an Inuit deep dive like 2 nights ago and learned all about that stuff.
So it was incredibly cool. I don't know if I would ever want to eat something like blubber again.
Well, okay, be picky then. Jeez.
I know.
Other
My-
Liz,
my
main
first
Liz,
fault
original
was-
Liz.
I'm not an adventurous person. You know, if I could spend the rest of my life living on chicken nuggets and tater tots, I would do that and be very happy. You know, going on the pizza theme, I did once have a salad pizza, which does not sound nearly as delicious as a baked ziti pizza, but it was one of those combinations that's so weird you had to try it. You know, it worked in a weird way. It worked. It was a pizza shell, a pizza crust covered in lettuce and dressing, and it's like, I did not expect this, but I'm not unhappy. Though if I'd known baked ziti pizza was an option, I would have preferred that. And one thing at Disneyland, one of the things they serve is a peanut butter and jelly pizza, which is in fact delicious. It's like
Oh,
it's.
no, I want
I mean,
that.
it's kind of like a whole wheat pizza crust, and it's covered in swirls of peanut butter and jelly. That is also really great. So yeah, I'm just listing adventurous pizzas now, and not even that adventurous. That's all I got. That's all I got for this one.
Well, I'm not going to talk about Easter pie because Easter pie is not that weird. It's basically just a quiche. It's a big, dense quiche. But I will talk about gefilte fish cotton candy.
What?
I used to live in San Francisco, and San Francisco has a lot of what you'd call joke food available. There's lots of small independent companies. Like there's dirt soda that you can get. You say but dirt soda, they has bugs in it. Like it's
Okay,
literally
yeah, that's even more. That's
yeah.
even more.
It's just. But for me, it was the gefilte fish cotton candy, which was only even challenged by the sardine candy corns, because it has all the chalkiness of candy corn and all the sardine of sardine. If you like sardines, I do. Then you like the saltiness and so forth. But if you're like other people who don't like sardines, these things are a terrible gut punch to the mouth.
That is the most questionable food I might have ever heard of. Sardine cotton candy.
No. Sardine
candy corn.
Candy corn. The gefilte fish cotton candy they're differently bad, but also I liked them. But they were both not good. But it was a distinctive. When you eat something sweet, you do not expect that blast of umami.
Mm.
You know, it's just like, whoa, what the heck is that? So yeah. But I guess now we should try to ask if money and closet space were no object, how would you choose to dress each day? Because Joe basically put us there.
Welcome from the land of tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah. Joe's already answered his. So, Liz H.
You know, I would just have a collection of like soft, fuzzy sweatshirts, and I would just rotate through them. I would be very content as long as it was fuzzy. This is an important factor. Fuzzy and soft and cozy. That's all I need.
Liz P.
So this is going to sound incredibly wishy-washy, but I kind of already do, because I love wearing like the kind of loose, flowy cotton pants and like graphic or slogan printed t-shirts. Today's shirt says sarcasm, it's how I hug. And that's my happy place. I throw on my Blizzard Watch hoodie and even did a thumbs up when I said that. And I'm so comfy and cozy, and I'm a happy camper. I've got slippers and I'm good to go.
Exo 1 power armor from Fallout.
Saw that coming.
Yep. And whenever I play Fallout 4, because you know how Fallout 4 has the building thing. Whenever I play Fallout 4, the Minutemen, no progress is made. The Brothers of Steel, I join just long enough to get my own power armor, and then I never see those guys again. I just go around collecting all the power armor and putting it in my base that I built just to display power armor. And I have, like, the last time I played Fallout, I literally had every single set of power armor that can be collected in the game. Like, there were no more. Nobody else had any at this point. I mean, they did. because NPCs are wearing it and so forth. But I had every single piece that was available to be collected and didn't immediately throw a you're a thief, you're stealing this. All of it, every type. But the EXO one is my favorite because the lights, and you know how the other ones say it's like you've seen Fallout the show. You know how the helmet basically has a light that you turn on and off on it, like a minor light or something.
Mm-hmm.
The EXO one doesn't do that. The EXO one has big lenses and they light up. So you're walking around with light beams shooting out of your face. And I just love it. I love it to death. So yeah, the EXO one power armor. Since money is no object, I'll just spend billions upon billions until this suit actually exists. And then I will walk around in it all the time. Runner up is naked, but you don't need closet space for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, my favorite tip or trick you've learned recently in your game of choice. Do we have time? No, we don't really have time. I think we're going to have to be done. Cory has finished us off.
Yeah, this is what happens when Cory just asks 3 questions in one go.
Yeah, that's Cory.
But wait,
3 questions
we
and
have a
1
couple
trench coat.
questions for next week. It is.
But yeah, I guess that's it. You guys already did everything. Liz did the thing. Yeah, Joe doesn't have to do his thing anymore, so it's basically just me. Okay. Thank you guys for listening to the Blizzard Watch podcast. Thank you to Joe, Liz, and Alterna Liz. I still think Antimatter Liz might have been my best one.
It was a good one. I liked it a lot.
It's tough when we're both in the same place at the same time. I don't like the Liz 1 and Liz 2 thing because it implies a superior ordering of Liz's, which is untrue.
It just makes you think of Dr. Seuss.
I could think we could go with baryonic.
Yeah, that's true.
Baryonic and non-baryonic Liz, because you've got dark matter Liz and regular matter Liz. But then that implies one of you is unusual and one of you is normal, and that's not true. You're both unusual.
Well, there was Matt the two-headed ogre. Now there's Liz the two-headed hydra. It's fine. We're good.
That's actually not bad.
Okay.
Think about
Yeah,
that.
I like it.
Originally, we just had Liz the hydra with only one head, but then someone cut the head off, and now 2. Boom. But yeah, okay. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. This has been the Blizzard Watch podcast, and we will be back next week.